But it's a
Sore
little-
subject.
a little behind, just to let everybody know, the commissioners have an important meeting at 1 o'clock, so we are gonna need to move through the agenda quickly as possible. So the Madam Clerk, should you please call roll?
Mr. Malloy,
Here.
Mr. Bernard. Here. Mr. Hernandez.
Here. Okay, so we'll start reading the minutes on agenda item 1. Number 2, dispense reading the minutes of the special meeting on February 13. Approve bills. 4, okay, Martha, we don't know all this. Can you go
Well,
through a lot
I'm
of
going
this?
to actually turn it over to Martha, or Trumbull County Auditor. I'm going to turn it over to Chrissy, who's there,
Okay.
who has dealt mostly with this. And if you have questions between the two of us, we'll try to answer them. And she'll give you a little bit of an overview over these, 11 agenda items that we have. And we may have some input from Gary and Bob as well.
Okay. Can I ask you first, real quickly, are these items that have already been approved or negotiated, or not? Commissioner Bernard and I, we don't know what is going on.
Commissioner, just let her do the overview
Okay.
and she'll explain it, because I think that's probably best if you let her get through it so that you understand. Go ahead.
Every year we have a note issuance. So,
Just say,
I'm sorry, I forgot it. Remembered in my head and I didn't say. Chrissy's Derek auditors on this. So about every year we have a note issuance. Some of the notes are rolled over and then we
Let
also.
me stop you
Okay.
for just a second to make sure that everybody understands. Notes, Martha, you're Trumbull County Auditor. Notes are short-term debt. We do notes in anticipation of bonds, and there are also notes that are used for projects that are revenue-generating projects. So she can explain a little bit about where these come from and how this has happened, but most of what we're dealing with in these 11 are things that were from last year that we're rolling over.
okay,
There are some new things, but notes are short term.
So last March, we issued notes for the projects that we had at that time. And they were just 1-year notes. So this year we have to, they mature March 15th. So we either need to roll them over or pay them off. So historically, we had rolled over a portion, paid off a portion, or paid down a portion. So that's
And
kind of
if-
what we have going on right
Martha,
now.
you're Trumbull County Auditor, and if a project has not been completed, we cannot move it into bond until then. So anything that's not completed has to be rolled over.
So part of the first, so 4, 5, 6, and 7, those all kind of go together with the rollovers from the prior year. Those are accepting, or you guys are receiving the fiscal officer certificates for the projects we had at the time. So number 4 was the elevator project, and it was, the note was taken out for $800,000. That project is completed, and we have some money left over from it, and we are using that money to pay down at this time. But we're not rolling that over into a bond just yet, and I'll get to some of our other projects where we are on those, and we're not doing that at the advisement of our financial advisor. We're kind of waiting for some of the other projects.
Martha, you're Trumbull County Auditor, it makes more sense financially to wait for the other projects to be done and do a bond of everything.
So the first one was the elevator project. The second one is various building improvement projects for the county. One is replacing the roof at the engineer's garage. The second one was the stone building, adjustment or improvements there. And then the third one was the engineer's office. Now, the roof at the engineer's garage has been completed. There was some money left over on that, so we are using that to pay down that note. We're not rolling over for the full amount. 6 is receiving a fiscal certificate for the Meadowbrook Sanitary Project, which is being rolled over. And then 7 is receiving a fiscal certificate for the State Road Water Regionalization Project, which is being rolled over. 6 and 7 being rolled over by the Sanitary Engineer's Office. And then number 8 is the resolution that goes with those fiscal certificates for items 4, 5, 6, and 7. This is how we have to put them on for our entire bond council. First, you guys receive the fiscal certificate and then you approve the resolution.
Quick question for you.
Yep.
I just read this in Mahoney County's minutes. They did something similar to this. They just had it all in one thing and they had received the notes and certificates or proof. It was all in one resolution. They listed it instead of having 11 or however we have here. Can we do it that way
If that's
for the
what you
future?
choose to do, as long as you're approving it all, I don't think it matters how it's constructed.
No, Martha Yoder from the county auditor, the language that we use is just what's been done in the past. Is that correct? Or
Oh, I cut and pasted directly from the resolutions that were prepared by Catholic Altar. Like feature.
and I think we probably, if we're Blake Beecher is our bond counsel,
Right.
and he prepares these resolutions. I would say that we probably should raise that with him to make sure that he's okay with that, because we do want to follow bond counsels.
They have it, they approve the resolution for what it is, but then they have the background information isn't on the resolution. It's appendix A or whatever is everything
Right,
that's
and
on
we,
there.
and we can certainly ask him, but again, I want to make sure that we follow, because just because another county does it, doesn't mean it's right. So obviously, I understand wanting to not have it an agenda item for usually other, actually not wanting to have, as an agenda item, but because bond council may have reasons for us to do it, we want to check with them first. Yeah.
So the bottom line is we're gonna borrow $6 million.
We've already borrowed.
We already borrowed that.
That was last year, and we've explained it to you, we've actually given you
Well,
this
I
information.
heard the
prior to
explanation, but
We,
I'm not so sure.
Martha Yoder,
I
Trumbull
agree.
County Auditor,
I'm not so sure I agree with it though.
way, and I understand that, and you're free to do that, I disagree with what my predecessor did as well. However, we have explained this to you several times.
And these are things we had to do, Commissioner. We had a broken elevator. The engineers is losing heat and the windows literally where the wind blows through. The HVAC in there's been horrible. Stuff's just needed done. This is how we paid for it.
And these notes mature March 15th. So the next step in our process with our debt issuance is February 26th is the pre-pricing call with the underwriting desk, and the February 27th is the actual selling of our notes, where we go out to find that somebody who's willing to purchase it.
Yeah.
Alex, Jensen Bush, Human Resources Department, only because I'm trying to get prepared for our new coming maintenance department employees. The stone building, how does that work if we haven't started it yet? So can we still, and I'm just asking for the board, I know it's something silly, but can we give that money I think we're just in a holding pattern, and that seems really silly to me to have just money sitting out there.
Well, and that was one of my concerns, Martha Yoder, County Auditor, that was one of the things that I raised as well, which I felt, and I don't like to go back to the past.
Sure.
But I felt that it was really, we were given the information that they wanted to proceed, and we borrowed money and paid interest on money that never got used. And so, we could talk to and the bond council to see if there's an option for us to pay that back now, if that's what the board would like to do. And we could seek the legal, we could certainly talk to them about that. It hasn't been brought to us before that they wanted to do that.
And I don't know what they wanted to.
And
but I
I'm not
wanted to
sure,
know we haven't
I think
started yet.
that, just correct me if I'm wrong, I think that engineering did start on that, though, is that right?
I believe there's a small
So
amount that has been.
Some money
spent.
has been spent already.
So I think
Yes.
the board just needs to make, now that there's a new board here, I wanted to draw attention to that.
Correct.
And you can continue to wait until you get a special projects, administrator who will be in here soon. But with that being said, I think the biggest difference is when we were going over the debt in the budget hearings, we could hear most of these projects have been done. So those can then, or they're being done, right? So
Right.
they can be turned into the next
But the
step.
stone building has not been.
But the stone building really sticks out to me because I'm not really sure how, so if we're looking to maybe, if the board's going to make a decision, do you want to pay what maybe little work has been done and then give the money back until we're ready to start that? Or if that's even an option, or if not, we gotta get moving because we can't just be sitting on monies like that, so.
I
And we
agree,
go out for pricing on the 26th.
Yeah.
so we have to,
I know.
if the commissioners do want us to look at that and have
March
Christie make
26th,
that call.
February 26th.
February.
February before March.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm glad we brought that up. So commissioners, you need to
If they-
essentially make a decision on
If
the
they,
stone
yeah,
building.
make a decision, if you want us to look into that and make corrections for tomorrow. If it's possible, we will. Do that. I'm looking at
But
funny-
have they, I know they're replacing the doors right now on the stone building out front. They wanted to do it Monday when everybody was off and they requested overtime. Our guys being that they're in, they've got the guy there replacing the doors.
I don't know, was that part of the scope though, or is that something different?
I am not sure, to be honest with you.
That's what I'm saying. So
Um,
we have to
yeah.
be very clear. I thought the intent of the stone building monies was to renovate the third floor.
no, it was, I think it was the roof.
Says constructing, reconstructing equipment and otherwise improving the county stone building, including HVAC, electrical and architectural improvements together with all necessary appurtenances.
Okay, so that could be anything, I guess, really. I mean, else with the architectural.
Exactly. Well, and I think we
So-
did it to make it more inclusive of what we do.
The other thing with this is if you do decide to move forward with this with the special projects this year, we would not have that money. We'd only go out for note issuances once a year, so we would have to wait until next year.
So if we don't hit the February 26th deadline, which is for submittal in March, then it's not going to happen essentially. That's what we're saying.
If you decide to take it off the
Yeah.
year today,
Then
then
the
it's not
next
happening.
year.
until next
Okay,
year.
gotcha. Okay,
Refuge Trumbull County Auditor, what is the will of the board? What would you like us to do? I'll be honest with you, Christina, we'll do a side conversation. She does not think it's a sleep date that we.
okay.
But if they want us to look at it or ask, we are willing to ask.
I do believe there's work already going on with that. The bill had started and I know the doors are ordered. In fact, they're putting them in this week.
Okay,
I think that's part of the architectural design because it was historic building. They had to use a certain doorway and a certain type of frame and there were things that went along with that. And the company literally called me last week and said, hey, is there a way we can work on Monday? But we need someone to let us in. We need a maintenance guy there to oversee while we do the work and we get it
okay.
done Monday, Tuesday, if you let us work Monday. And I said, no. So they said they'll continue on through the week then and get it done, best they can.
Well, we're already in the process. I understand what Commissioner Bernard's saying. We didn't have any say in this. But it seems like the work is moving, and if we crush that, then what? You gotta wait a year. It's another one of those things where it's just, you and I are gonna have to make those hard
I
decisions.
just like to know why none of the ARP money used for any of this.
So like the engineers was an emergency. The roof collapsed on the engineer's garage.
I understand that, but the windows and the stone building and the elevator and stuff like that, that we're borrowing money and we had money. Just seems to me that we should have used those funds.
It came down to which one would you not have wanted to fund that we did?
Well,
We take an ambulance
I
away.
just don't like putting the county in debt, that's all.
Refuge Trumbull County Auditor, I'm gonna let Christie kind of start with these last ones that we're done with. The first part of this, the notes that we are rolling over from next year. Because these are the next ones are new, and Gary and Bob can probably also explain some of this as well, but I'll let you explain the process part and then explain.
The next 3 or 6 agenda items are the new note issuances for sanitary engineers. So number 9 is receiving the fiscal certificate for the Blueprint Phase 2 water system. Number 10 is a resolution approving the issuance of that same. Christie's State Auditor's Office. Number 11 is to receive the fiscal certificate for the Clemson Gilmore Sanitary Sewer Project. Number 12 is the resolution it goes along with that project. Number 13 is to receive the fiscal officer certificate for the Meadowbrook Sanitary Sewer Project. Number 14 is the resolution going along with that project. Move it to Gary and Bob to.
All right, Gary Newbrough, sanitary engineer, commissioners, we use the notes projects in a different way than we do for like converting it to bond. At the end of hours, we don't convert the bond. what we have is that I have the projects funded almost entirely through grant funds, Ohio EPA, Water Pollution Control Fund, that sort of thing. Now, they will make direct payments to contractors during the project. So it's the engineering, it's the tree removal, it's the EPA permits. But we need money on hand in order to pay these things. And that's what the note money does, is it's paying all these ancillary costs. And once my funding sources are all secure, then I submit those back to them for reimbursement. They reimburse me. So that money the note money goes into the project fund. We use it to pay these extraneous costs. I get reimbursed. Reimbursements come back into the project fund. And ideally, at the end of the project, I have all the money back again. The only thing I lose is the interest. And that interest is what we call the interest during construction. So if you see the interest during construction on a cost estimate, that's exactly what it is, that no money that we lost. Now, we don't, one of the good things about the interest during construction is that although we are losing interest to the holder of the note, it's also gaining interest while it's in our project fund. So you subtract the two back, and that is our interest during construction.
Matter of fact.
So that's like a wash.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
basically.
And these are projects already in movement.
Yes,
Too,
yes,
so-
that's what all these are, and these amounts are mostly to encumber the funds in order to have the engineering contract. So they're the largest cost of what these notes are, the engineering.
Massachusetts Area Auditor's Office. As a matter of fact, they had two notes that were approved in March 2024, that in March 2025, they're paying off. So
Yeah,
they're replacing, two of the older projects with a couple newer ones and adding
Yeah.
on to.
I think we're closing Elm Road. I got all the money
Yes.
reimbursed back. We're able to close Elm Road. And what was the
The
other-
printer prosperity phase one.
Oh, okay, yeah, the Blueprint project. Yeah, we had that out for a while.
Is there more? Alex, I thought you were raising your hand.
Oh, sorry.
You're raising your hand still. Yes, Commissioner. Yes, I do. We're gonna suspend normal business real quick. We have an emergency at the tag. Well, no, we're gonna, oh, no, yes,
Right,
you're permitted
does it
to.
involve money?
Yes, I didn't, well, it's,
Yeah,
Mark, can you please, this
Yeah,
is the
so-
sheriff's office.
I'm Mark Mann, Trumbull County Sheriff's Office. I'm going to let John Alberti talk you to their tag unit. Our tag unit is completely shut down. We have, this is a major problem. They had an emergency out there. I'll let John real quickly start from the beginning, take you through it. The situation where we had to call the Air Force Emergency Management out.
Hey, morning. My name is John Alberti, captain at Trumbull County Sheriff's Office. So we know Sheriff Wilson came in January 6th. So, my primary duty on his staff is a commander of the drug unit that's out on at the engineer's office, the building out there. So first thing we did when we came in is I wanted to conduct an inventory of all the evidence, equipment, things like that. So we started with the evidence room. There was a significant amount of evidence that should have been destroyed over the years. It was not. But that being said, that's why we started working through the evidence. So at some point in this moving around of the boxes and categorizing and cataloging, trying to see what we can destroy, get rid of. I'm just touch on some notes here. January 2nd, actually myself and Deputy Currington were in that room. She suffered hives, face was broke out. I had some face burning, sinus burning, things like that. We actually had to go to urgent care just as a precautionary measure. So we're exactly sure. We're working through the problem. Hitting my notes, February 5th, Deputy Currington went back in the evidence room. Same thing happened. Hives, some type of exposure. I was there again at the doorway, same thing. Had the burning nose, eyes, face, stuff like that. So immediately, we just ended up shutting the room down at that point. Notified EMA, hazmat. They came to the building. Like CFO Manning said, we had to have the Air Force come out because they have better monitors. So they did a complete basically swabbing of the entire room. And they had some pretty, I guess I would say, serious chemical contamination in that room, to include pesticides, precursors to like cocaine or pharmaceutical. It was a cocktail, I guess you would say, basically just on the walls, the shelving and stuff. They came out again with a better monitor. They tried, this monitor actually was to try to pinpoint a specific box or package that let whatever out was in it did. Unable to do. So we couldn't pinpoint the exact thing or origin. So overall, it's just a. So again, what we determined, a lot of it was evidence that just has been in the room too. It needs to be out. We're working through that. The HVAC system, which I think we just talked about HVAC, apparently it's been down in some manner for like 2 years. They talked about some, I'm not really familiar with the parts, but a condenser had been leaking. It was tripping the breaker. When the hazmat team was there, they pulled the filters out and they were pretty much black and then maybe never been changed for. So that being said, the room has been shut down and it's not operational. So I made probably, I'm going to say 5 or 6 calls to local companies in the area. The only company that was capable of the respirators and everything else was Servco. They came out, you guys have just limited copies of the quote that they gave us. Came in around $12,000, but I would say from reading that, that was a extensive project that they were going to do with task. I mean, they were down to like, cleaning the window sills. I think they really gave us a great price. And for what they're saying they're going to do, I don't know anything else. And then once they get that cleaned out, I mean, obviously that HVAC system needs addressed. What is not working. So.
Thank you. And I have spoke with the prosecutor concerning an approval on this being an emergency. I don't think this is something that needs to be tabled for an agenda item. I personally believe that we need to handle this because it's an emergency issue. We don't want anybody in there getting sick. And so I think, Bill, can we make a motion to move with this?
Bill Danso, County Prosecutor's Office. One of the things I'm just not sure of, because without our maintenance director here anymore, and you guys might have a better idea, is where the defining line was for the board and for its department heads between simply having something done as an invoice, as a bill, versus as approved as an official sort of contract agenda item. I believe there used to be a sort of a threshold of what was allowed to be approved as a bill by a department head versus, like I said, a formal contract here. So, I mean, I'm open to that being done whatever way the board's policy would work. So I don't know, I'm not sure if anybody here has experience with that. That being said, one of the other things you could do, as long as it was okay with the commissioners and the clerk, is just throw it on tomorrow as a last minute agenda item. I'd certainly be willing to help out with a last minute agenda item to get that approved.
Martha, your Trumbull County Auditor, will help with my numbers to make sure.
We can get this approved, Christie's District Auditor's Office, we can get this approved as a purchase order today. It doesn't need to have a board or commissioner's approval for that.
Alex Stephen-Johnson, Bush Human Resources Department, only because I've been obviously reached out to multiple times, being human resources and dealing with safety and the workers' comp and all of that fun stuff that's gone along this process. I thought I made myself pretty clear that this is within your guys' own policies and procedures. I mean, it's no different than JFS giving the carpet $4,000 or for it's a service. And I'm sorry to point on you, John, but I know because we used to do it all the time. This is not I'm gonna side with Bill here. This is a absolute operational business need that's well within your budget. It's not a matter of approval. It's a health and safety measure. It needs to be done. We have a room that is highly toxic. That's probably not safe for anybody. Hasn't been safe for a long time. Needs addressed. Bottom line is, this is something well within your scope of a sheriff's office of you have the authority to run your business and operation as needed. I just want to make sure we're clear to the board because if we start bringing every department head or office or elected official in to get, you know, a certain limit of things approved, this is administrative. I hate to call it administrative, but it's day-to-day operational.
Right.
And if we start bringing all those things into these meetings, we're going to be approving a lot of things that you're counting on already your department heads and elected officials to do on their own.
Martha, you're a Trumbull County Auditor. I do think though, because we're in this situation where we're in temporary budget, I can understand
Sure.
the inclination to do that. I think once we get to a regular budget,
Yeah,
smaller need like this, the HVAC, of course, is gonna have to be
that'll be
addressed as a
different.
capital.
Yes, that'll be
Um,
different. But
The,
they can't even get in there to know what to do.
but I
so-
have a question, regarding this expense. Is this something that we can report to Corsa? Is there a possibility that we can reduce some of this?
I don't know because they didn't make me aware of this until, I've never seen.
This just came today.
Yeah.
Why,
I
question I got, why don't we wait? Why, the day that you went to the hospital, I said, let's call in hazmat, call in BCI, get this cleaned up immediately. Why did we have to go back in again and get people sick again? And then say, oh, it's emergency today, a month later? Why wasn't it done that day?
So
I'm
John,
not blaming you, you were
no,
in the
no,
hospital.
no, so John Alberti, Captain TCSO. I'll just say this, I'm the kind of guy that likes to fall on the sword. Personally, and I've discussed this with Mark and the sheriff, me personally, I should have probably got on this, reacted a little bit quicker. Again, just not understanding what was going on. I did take a personal hit. Should have reacted quicker to it, meaning just addressed it right then and now with the people. I guess we didn't really realize, because here's the problem. Other people had been operating in that room and they go in there, not to sound even funny, but do cartwheels and nothing. See, that was kind of what, it's like, okay, is this really an exposure? Is it just, there were certain parts of it. But then obviously the second time, that's when I had a better reaction and shut. So again,
I also think there was some concern on who was gonna pay for it, and where the money was gonna come from. I think maybe that's where the sheriff's department had some hesitant there because no one really knew where the money was gonna come from.
Yeah, but when it comes to safety, that
Well,
doesn't
no,
mean nothing.
no, I agree, but
Right.
I just think there was some confusion there, and I'm not sure where the money's gonna come from right now.
Yeah, you should have,
I mean, I agree, it has to get done,
right,
but where's the money gonna come from? Who's gonna pay for it?
Alex, Stephen Jonesy Bush, you should have available funds within your, that's what I'm trying to say. So when you're looking at your budget, you should have operational cleaning, there's especially with the grant, there should be, I would think, you need to look into your tab. I did a little bit of research and with this being a grant dealing with specifically those types of high touch drugs and stuff like that. There should be something underneath that grant that would cover this. If not, it would default to the sheriff's office under their regular cleaning, operational supplies, administrative, day-to-day duties. So
What
you guys
falls
would
under
have to.
County with the
verify.
HVAC or anything?
No, no.
And then how soon can that company start to get it done?
so John Alberti, so we have got an action plan in place. So there's certain evidence, we have just a humongous pile of evidence. We have a destroy setup. So the plan is to, number one, mass, pull that evidence out and get it destroyed so it's out of the room. We have a little, and then after that, again, masked up, that type of thing. Evidence out, we're gonna take it out of the room, store it, locked in a trailer inside the building, because it is evidence. We're gonna do some controls on that. And that way the room is opened up. Part of that quote might be moving on. I have to talk to them about that. But as far as respirators, they might have to do that themselves, but again, we're gonna have controls because it is evidence. And then once we get that out, that gives access to that whole, the walls, the ceiling, the shelving, everything.
And then once that's clean, do we need to have that inspected ever so often? You know, with somebody coming in there?
I don't really know. I know again, the controls going forward. I will tell you in my time, there will never be that much evidence will accumulate in that room ever again. That was a no-go from the beginning. Corrected. I don't know if there is a HVAC filter maintenance program. I don't know. That stuff I would think maybe quarterly would be best to be replaced, maybe 6 months. I don't know that stuff 100%.
Alex and Jency Bush, they do have, a routine filter change that they should be going through. However, I did some research as well, that 2 years was very alarming to me. So I obviously reached out immediately to our HVAC, actually I had my staff do it, but
Right.
the message that I am being told, and don't shoot the messenger, is that they were not allowed in that room for 2 years. They were told that they were not allowed
Are you
access into
talking, are you
that room.
talking Bill Flanagan?
Brian, yes.
Brian,
Yes,
yes, I
I-
did speak to him too, we discussed that.
And he
That
was,
a-
if you don't give them access to a room for 2 years, guys,
Again,
then how do you expect them to change the filter and fix this stuff?
part of the
So-
controls going forward, that was brought up, and I do.
It was
he
brought
said
up,
the same
yeah.
thing.
And I understand it's got evidence in there, but
Yeah.
maybe could, going forward, since we're new,
They
maybe
could
we
be
can escort
escorted.
them in there so they can work. I mean, there's gotta be ways that we talk through these processes.
They
so
can be
these things don't
escorted,
happen.
yes, 100%.
Okay, that's great, as long as we can work together going forward. But
Yeah,
again,
that's-
if you don't let them in, or some, if not you, but if another predecessor didn't let them in, what were they supposed to do? I mean, and they made it, they documented that, so they,
I agree.
So where we're at, get it clean, and then we'll figure out who's gonna pay for it and how we're gonna pay for
yeah,
it.
and we're gonna be better we'll clean it going forward, we'll
So,
have
so they
processes.
can
we'll-
contact Serpro and say, get it in, get it clean, and we'll figure out how we're gonna pay.
So we don't need to add it to the agenda item. Do we need to add it to the
I
agenda?
don't
Phil
think, I
Vance, the
think,
prosecutor's office, it sounds like if you guys are gonna handle it as just an invoice to be paid through an existing, budgetary line item or something like that, then that would, yeah. it
Just
wouldn't
make
be-
sure we have a
But
few.
going forward, they're probably gonna end up doing
And
it
and
anyway.
just write an emergency on it.
Okay. So just get it done and then,
And Commissioners, Alex even Jensen Bush, the only reason I wanna make sure I just don't want them to feel like, because HR has said, again, at least twice, get somebody in there now. I don't want them to feel like they have to wait for any health and safety measures for this process. That is actually not how government, good government would be, if there's something wrong, you address it. You don't need to wait for, especially when we're talking a $12,000 limit here. I mean, this is very minimal in the grand scheme of things. We just wanna prioritize that you guys are safe, our employees are safe, everything's safe. That's the number one priority, at least from an HR perspective, the board, if you feel differently. But I just don't wanna slow down the process by.
I just think it was going through too many channels.
Yeah.
And just today, when they can't even enter, it's got to be done.
You have to say your name.
I'm sorry, Mark Manning, come back to us. All right, thank you very much. And
Thank you very
we'll
much.
contact them and move forward, then, right?
thank you guys.
All right, thanks, guys.
Okay, Mr. Gargano?
Yes, John Gargano, JFS, number 15 commissioners. That's a promotion of Mr. Anu Vignac to the fiscal specialist. It's a non-bargaining position. This is being filled because approximately a month ago or so, I had a gentleman that was in that position was promoted to a supervisor's position. When that came open, it was posted internally. They had applicants tested and interviewed. Mr. Vignac was the one that was the top.
How do you say the first name?
Well, I'm shortening it. It's, I think it's Anuba, but we just call him
Okay.
Anu Vignac.
What?
Anu.
It's a new,
Oh, I knew, okay.
Just call him Anu. That's what we call him.
That's pretty good.
Mess it up
Glad you
all
said
the
it, 'cause I
time.
didn't know, I wasn't gonna know that. Okay, Gary?
Thank you, Commissioner. Short agenda for us this week. Number 16 is special annual supplier fleet permit as listed, and then 17. We got several there on the list for right-of-way permits.
Good. Is there any more on here, Gary, on the agenda for the engineer? I don't know whether.
I didn't have time to look at it. It was a meeting. This morning.
Okay, we'll get to it. If there is, Gary, thank you. Okay, 18. To withdraw petition of the annexation, situated in Weathersfield, known as lots 1A of the replat lot 1. It's recorded Trumbull County plat instrument, that number. So we're withdrawing petition set forth by the city of Niles. 19, to approve personnel action. Oh, Alex, this is probably your.
Sure. Commissioners, Alex, Stephen Jensen Bush, Human Resources Department. I am going to keep this on and hope, because we really do need this gentleman to start on March third. I am told the BCI background check will be here any day now that it was mailed to us. I just need to get that open. If I don't get it by tomorrow, I will tell you, I will pull this agenda item and we'll have to put it on again next week. Everything else has come in. He is ready to start. We are just waiting on that. Commissioners, you interviewed Mr. Daryl Dunnigan, the Special Projects Facilities Administrator. Obviously, you can hear just from conversations this morning how important that position is, and we need to get somebody in there. I don't think, you know, it's honestly not, it's every single day. Commissioner Malloy and I are working nights, weekends, mornings, afternoons, between him and I, just covering this department, with anything HR related or, you know, operations related. And it is a 24/7 hour business. So we really do need to get somebody in there, ASAP. If he's still able to start on March 3rd, him as well as Harlan, his assistant, will be starting at the same time. They've already kind of had a couple conversations I've had with both of them, so they're ready to go, they're excited. And commissioners, this will be a very big deal because for once you will have somebody again who's dedicated to special projects as well. So somebody who will not only be running that department, but also working on special projects for this county. So should you decide to build a dog pound, should you decide to build a 911, whatever the case may be, this person will be your dedicated go-to person, which is very much in this county. I would highly anticipate that this person will help us get better on change orders, will help us get better on everything from procurement processes, all of that when going out to bid for projects. This gentleman is very highly educated, comes very highly recommended, and we're more than thrilled to have him.
The best thing on his, when we interviewed him, was his current employer built 3 buildings while he was there, and he oversaw the building from ground to completion. So he knew every electrical panel, every HVAC, every plumbing thing in there. He was a part of all the planning of that, which is going to be most helpful with us as we get into 911, coroner, dog pound, maintenance of other buildings. He's really schooled in that stuff, which was his biggest asset.
You have several here, I think, Ellen.
I think I have all the next 10.
I think you do.
Sorry.
No, go.
Alex Stevens, Dennessee Bush Human Resources current. The next is to approve the promotion of Mrs. Kelly Wachowski from the custodian at the Building Maintenance Department, pay range 3, year 5, $17.50 an hour, to lead custodian, which would be a pay range 5, year 5, $20.70 an hour, effective Monday, February 24th, 2025. Commissioners, this is pursuant to ASME 2493 contract. The job posting article is very clear. There was 2 union bids, and we have a ranking that we need to do that you can be provided with. The union's already seen that ranking and they understand that Mrs. Kelly Wachowski is the one who is deserving of this position. With that being said, this position is going to be very instrumental. The afternoon supervisor position was reworked to be the facilities assistant manager. So what that does is if he works 10 to 6, that leaves a couple hours where these custodians in the afternoon are by themselves or, you know, not have a supervisor on site. So the union was very much in agreement that we needed to elevate somebody to be a lead custodian for that time in between when the assistant leaves. And if there's any issues, she is to call the assistant. We've already gone through this with her job description. She knows what's expected. We've had multiple conversations. And I think this will truly be the last piece to getting this building and vehicle department back on track. So.
Good.
Any questions on Kelly Wachowski? Okay, commissioners, the next ones are very long. I apologize, but essentially it is OPERS conversion time for 2025. I'm going to give you a document that kind of explains, in case you are not aware, what the OPERS conversion is. And also I did some digging, because I know the question's gonna come up, so let me just start with that. Can we not do conversion? Well, unfortunately, per OPERS, you'll see in the highlighted area, budget restraints cannot dictate usage of the plan. In other words, you cannot decide from year to year whether you will offer the conversion. It's an all or nothing on an ongoing continual basis. So board, you have to make a decision. Are we offering the OPERS conversion, sick and vacation every year, or are you not? As of right now, we're at 80-40, which we're gonna go over. And for those who are in a collective bargaining agreement, there's nothing we can do. That is bargain, that is agreed upon. That cannot change. So I'm gonna roll through, but I wanted you to keep this in mind while we were going through this, because I know the question's gonna come, well, can we not just cut this program? And I'm not saying we can't, but that's a board decision and it has to be all or nothing, okay? All right, so,
Quick, Alex, with all this in mind beforehand, non-bargaining.
Yeah.
Does it get in a situation where it's a Me Too type of situation?
no, so they're totally separate. So the non-bargaining has a
Right.
totally separate agreement than the bargaining. Yeah,
So it's up to commissioners whether to,
it is, but you couldn't say, let's cut the non-bargaining because you're still offering it to bargaining. But what you could do, like you couldn't completely eliminate it. But what you could do is you can continue to lower it or raise it. I mean, obviously, we're not gonna raise it. We've been lowering it. But, you know, I know because you guys have asked me, so I know nobody wants to talk about this, but I work for the board, and if you ask me something, I have to give you an answer. You could technically take the 40 sick and 80 vacation down to 20 sick and 40 vacation. You could continue to cut that, okay? But this has to be submitted, as you see here, by March 31st. So whatever you choose to do, today is the beginning of the conversation of, here's what we have it at currently. Do you want to keep it here? Or if the board would like to change something, you gotta let us know now. Also, I'm gonna go through the courts and how they mandate us. So they have a specific limit that they mandate. I have a court order here that I can show you. So those things you can't really change. So let me roll through all of them and stop me if you have any questions. So the first is number 22. Oh, I'm sorry, number 21. To approve the submitted sick and vacation leave conversion plan for OPBA 911. Okay, so this is for 2025. Theirs is contractual. Theirs is at 80 sick and 120 vacation. The plans were all submitted with it too, but they'll be in the record. The next is to approve the submitted sick and vacation conversion leave for ASME Local 3196, which is the auditor's office. Again, theirs is contractual. This was entered into a collective bargaining agreement. Bargaining employees only, 100 sick, 180 vacation. Next, Commissioner Hernandez is going to be the one you were questioning about, which is a good question. It's to approve the sick and vacation leave conversion for the non-bargaining personnel within these departments listed below. Commissioners, treasurers, auditor, coroner, prosecutor, sheriff, clerk of courts, building inspection, maintenance department and vehicle maintenance, dog kennel, sanitary engineers, homeland security, which is your EMA, planning commission, data processing, child support enforcement agency, Department of Job and Family Services, senior levy, transit administrator, 911, remember non-bargaining we're talking about, and recorder's office. We are currently as a board have decided to hold at the 40 sick, 80 vacation. It was significantly higher in years prior, okay? So that was the boards in the prior years, that was their way of saying, let's reduce these costs. Because they could do that with the non-bargaining. They cannot do that with the bargaining. And I will tell you, commissioners, in every contract negotiation that I've sat at, and there's been many, we can't get everything, okay? One thing that the fact finders and arbitrators have absolutely ruled against in our favor is they will not reduce the sick and vacation leave. So in order to get the healthcare changes, in order to get, wages increased, keep them low, fact finders and arbitrators would not change that sick and vacation conversion. We've tried in every contract. To approve the submitted sick and vacation leave conversion for the members of ASME 2493, obviously, that is a large contract in this county. They're at 100 sick and 180 vacation. To approve the submitted sick and vacation conversion leave for non-union employees for the Trumbull County Common Pleas Court, Domestic Relations, Juvenile Court, Probate Court, Central District Court, and Eastern Court. They are at 100 sick and 180 vacation. Again, that is an order that was written. So I highly encourage you not to even go there because they're just going to write an order. So let's just keep on keeping on. To approve the submitted sick and vacation conversion plan for ASME Local 3808A, which is our child support enforcement agency. They are at 80 sick and 180 vacation. Oh, I'm sorry, 3808A is the recorders. My apologies. There's a 3808 too, sorry. So that is for your recorders. To approve the sick and vacation conversion leave for members of the OPBA in Unit 1, which is the deputies in this county, Unit 2, which is the sergeants and lieutenants, and Unit 5, which is the clerical clerks and maintenance. 80 sick, 120 vacation. 28 is to approve the submitted sick and vacation leave conversion for the members of OPBA, specifically Unit 3, which is your corrections officers, Unit 4, which is your jail lieutenants, and Unit 6, which is corrections sergeants. 80 sick, 120 vacation. And we're still rolling. To approve the submitted sick and vacation leave for the bargaining employees of the Trumbull County Department of Job and Family Services. Theirs is absolutely 458. Theirs is 80 sick and 120 vacation. John, I don't want to speak on your behalf. However, this one is a little bit different because there are no county general revenue funds requested for this specific, only because it's tied to federal dollars.
Correct.
That does not apply for CSEA.
No.
Okay, so JFS does not pull from the county general fund when we're talking about conversion. Actually, really, when we're talking about salaries too, outside of the mandated share. So the next one though,
And what's theirs?
they're at 80 sick, 120 vacation. Now, number 30 is slightly different because CSEA doesn't, have enough to cover, so they do pull from the county general fund. The Job and Family Services CSEA, which is contract 3808, not 3808A, is 80 sick and 160 vacation. And commissioners, that's my spiel. So any questions that you have or conversation that you would like to have, I'm more than willing to give you whatever facts I need.
This was something, commissioners, 2 years ago. There were some departments that were way high, and it's like somewhere to 120, 240. And we, as a board, set 40 and 80 as the goal to get everybody to. Many departments complied, some went down to 80, 120, some went to 100, 180, but they did come down from the 120, 240. But I think there's progress still needs to be made there. That is a massive chunk of money we're putting out in 1 month. With all the employees that we have, I mean, we're talking thousands of dollars that they're getting, and I don't know how this even came about. I've never heard of this in any other place I've ever worked or anything. I've ever been around before, but to let them just cash it in. I know there are some departments that they don't need to use much vacation. They're more flexible on sick time. They can flex their hours. They can do things. So there can be fraud and abuse in this somewhat, but people building up a bunch of comp time and then cashing in all the vacation and sick that they can. They still got plenty of time to take off and cost the taxpayers more money. And I think we saw that with Board of Elections. They're getting massive amounts of comp time. Well, they can cash out all their vacation and still utilize their comp time to get vacations. And so this is something that, again, whatever we do with this, I still think we need to put some mandates to move in a better direction with this for the departments that aren't, to try to get them in their, whether it be through contracts or whether it be through the non-bargaining ones, to really draw a line and say, hey, you need to get lower on this. If we're gonna balance a budget in the future and not have to pay out a whole bunch of money at one time, we need to do better on this.
Is this something?
And that's something maybe we can address at the budget hearings. How soon does this have to go?
That's what I'm just gonna ask.
So we have to submit the plans by March 31st. So that's why I started a little bit early.
Can we take these off and see if we can't get some of the people to lower some of
You
that?
can't take off the collective bargaining agreements, just so you know.
Yeah,
So
but-
all of those would have to stay. The
but
only thing that you
course
could
in that-
change.
These are what,
You could, listen, you could go back, so all these here are the only ones that could potentially be changed and you're at the 80-40. So you could push back, I believe I brought the court order with me, I did. The courts are at 100, 180, and here's the court order signed by all the judges. You can absolutely cruise through that. The other ones that I would, and I'm sorry, guys, but again, you pay me to do a job, I have to do it. The other ones that I would highly that I have to bring to your attention, are the Board of Elections and the veterans. They're at 100 hours for Board of Elections and 180 vacations. So 100 sick, 180 vacation.
They were supposed to
Non-bargaining.
address that at their meeting yesterday, did they? Anyone see the minutes?
You mean Board of Elections?
I don't know. So I mean, they're gonna have to submit they're gonna have to submit this to us eventually, for registrar eventually to be turned in, otherwise it doesn't get turned in, so.
I think both are the same. You said what are their?
The Board of Elections is at 100 sick and 180 as of last year. They're addressing it going forward this year. That's wonderful, and I would applaud them for that. At least, I think what the board has asked is that historically, that they at least match our 80-40, because they're non-bargaining. And then the Veterans Service Commission is at 120 sick and 240 vacation. Okay. That all hits the general fund board. Now, yes, we do have to keep in mind, they are mandated, again, they're mandated, right? They can take whatever percentage of our monies, and we have to also balance that. So
Right, with veterans, Martha Yoder, Trumbull County, with veterans, they are entitled, and do you have the millage?
I think it's
The-
2
Yeah,
point.
and they're about, I believe, a little less than $500,000 away
Yeah.
under that right
They
now. So even with this, they're under what their millage would be, and they could ask for that
Correct.
much more. And it's mandated, we can't.
Yeah, it just bothers me a little bit. I mean, these are the veteran employees we're talking about. We're not telling them we're helping veterans with this. Not $1 of this is helping a veteran unless the employee happens to be a veteran themselves. But they are getting paid good wages.
And they're
Good
the
things.
highest conversion that there is. for-
Absolutely. And I would like to see them spend more of their money on veterans, on people that need the help, on homeless veterans, on getting them jobs, not patting their pockets, whether it be their board members, the employees. This is the highest in the county. They gotta see that. They gotta look at that, but their board at the same time is trying to raise their own pay. So I can't see how they're gonna work with us on this when they wanna change their own pay to go higher.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, the veterans had, I guess, last year, one person total convert or participate in a conversion. And they don't usually carry about that much time.
So
That's,
that is good to know.
That's very good to know.
That's very, very, very good. And again,
They have to have so much in there before they can cash it, out, right?
yes, so it's a last in, first out to commissioners, so you just need to keep in mind, if you've used the amount of sick or vacation that they would have accrued in that year, they're not even eligible to cash out. So essentially, there's a formula where they take the last in, first out, and you deduct that off, and then it tells you how much you can cash in your sick and vacation. With that being said, it is very hard to quantify and forecast who's gonna do it and who's not gonna do it. All right, so one thing that I always tell our department heads to account for is you look and see where they're at when you're doing your budget. You look and see how much they're carrying in a balance right now in sick and vacation. You look to see in your contract if they would even be eligible for a sick and vacation cash out. And then you basically have to assume that they're going to do it. So what that means is I assume for myself, I'll just use myself as an example, and I don't pull from general fund, but I assume in my budget that I submit for myself that I'm going to do it. However, I don't partake in it. So that's my way of saving those funds. However, I forecast for it because what if I decide I want to last minute, right? I guess it is what it is. So there's no real way to say this person's gonna use it, this person's gonna use it, this person's gonna use it. That's just not the way that this works. And sometimes throughout the year, emergencies come up. People had to take off 2 weeks sick, take FMLA, take a vacation. And maybe they were anticipating to do the conversion, but because they used so much time, they then couldn't, or vice versa. So there's really no way to tell you how many people are gonna partake in it on any given year.
What is the benefit of it? Why is it even there?
Commissioner Bill Danzo, prosecutor's office. Historically, a couple of things, just very quick. I don't want to belabor it, but historically, there was a program for conversion in this county back many years ago. And OPERS in around 2011, 2012, I believe, changed their administrative rules. It made the program that Trumbull County used to have no longer compliant with the new rules. So under a former HR director and board of commissioners, there was a whole kind of revamp to this system to be compliant exactly with what the statutes and administrative code regulations were on this. And the amounts were much higher to begin with.
Yes, they
and
were.
they've been sort of reduced over the years. A couple points. First of all, I believe that the administrative code has been recently
amended, and you guys may have until
Till
December
December,
to do this.
We do, but Bill,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm gonna stop you on that. We do, but we don't have the administrative support and staff. We stick to the March 31st deadline. You are correct.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna sit
No,
here and lie.
I think that, that's good to have it done
Yeah.
earlier than December, but I just wanted to let the board know, I mean, technically, I think that if you did drag into March or maybe even April, you know, there is that deadline is not necessarily firm to get this figured out, but I do encourage this to be done earlier so that it has to be approved by OPERS.
Yes,
There's some steps that have to
there's
get done.
administrative, yes.
So I think that some of their website guidance on these plans is not up to date, I would say. The other thing too, just historically speaking, and you know, again, you guys may know this already, and certainly I'm sure HR does. When public employees retire, it is required by law that they are paid out for their accumulated vacation leave and for 720 hours of sick leave, okay? So the theory behind some of these.
After 10 years of service, though.
Correct, yes.
So
this
they
is
have
for-
to, it's I just want to make sure we're clear.
Sure, I'm
You
glad.
have to have 10 years of service.
But
with
only if they
Trumbull,
retire, not if they
and
quit.
only if they retire,
Well,
correct.
vacation leave is paid
Vacation's
out on
different.
separation,
That's true.
immediately upon separation for any
We're
employee.
talking about sick.
For
10 years
sick
retirement.
leave, 10 years, and it has to be retirement
Correct.
from the system. So the theory behind some of these programs was that if you have a young, newer employee that's using this conversion, you're paying out at a lower rate hourly than you would eventually if they hold this until they have 35 years in at the county and then cash it all in upon retirement. Whether those numbers work out, I'm not the financial person. I couldn't really tell you. But the other thing that it does is it in theory, helps reduce those retirement cash outs at the very end of a career by sort of making it more of a yearly hit along the way rather than waiting till the very end. Does that always work? Again, I'm not sure how, I wouldn't be the one to know how to calculate that, but there is sort of a theory behind some of this that, you know, and it also benefits the employees in that this conversion plan is counted as earnable salary toward OPERS, which is why it has to be done there. So in theory not in theory, in practice, this actually makes the retirement numbers for that final average salary higher for the employees who make use of this particular conversion program. So there's a lot of stuff out there on this on the OPERS website. Again, I will say that I think some of it may be outdated. Some of it, frankly, I have never found any matching legal authority or administrative code authority to back up. But their guide sheets, they're the ones who have to approve these plans. So we've always tried to be compliant with what their rules say. Otherwise, the risk is that they will say, no, you can't have that plan, and then you're back to the drawing board. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of that background information on it, at least as far as what I know from my time in dealing with this here.
Thank you.
John?
John Gargano, JFS. Just to go with Bill Danzo, back then, it was only reserved for, you had to have at least like 25 years or
Which is
so
what we
of
got.
service before you were eligible for the sick and vacation conversion. However, they were doing that in violation of the regulations.
Yes.
And so after that, they had to open it up to all employees, no matter if you had a year in, 2 years in, or whatever. So that's how it
I'm glad
increased
you
the
brought that up,
cost.
John. Thank you. Alex Stevens, actually, there was a significant finding on Trumbull County. So in 2011, it was caught. By 2015, the previous HR board directors all collectively rolled out the correct version. That is correct. OPERS is very stringent on you
Right.
cannot restrict. So again, like I kind of started in the beginning, I probably should have expounded on it more. That's my fault. You cannot restrict certain employees. If you're going to offer the OPERS conversion, like I said in the beginning, it is all or nothing. Okay, so it's either you're offering the program or you're not. And it's very clear in that restriction, in those restrictions. And we actually had somebody try that last year. We did. And it didn't work out. So
Well, I think we're gonna need direction. We're gonna need.
Well, yeah, do we want to
I
do
mean,
that
we're
with a
gonna
chaser,
need
or do we just say, Alex, what's your recommendation? Should we go with what's been presented here and just go with it, or should we delay it and talk, or?
Did we end up
After discussing, they're
I mean.
paying out one way or another anyway, at the end
So-
or at the
so
middle.
what do you recommend?
Commissioners, if anything, my only recommendation would be to you, you cannot touch, I can tell you, go through it now and tell you what you cannot do anything with. And that's number 21. You need to approve that as is. That's a collective bargaining agreement. Number 22 is a collective bargaining agreement. We're gonna skip number 23 and come back to that. Number 24 is a collective bargaining agreement. Number 25 is the courts. So if somebody from the Board of Commissioners would like to reach out to them and ask if they would like to reduce that, that absolutely is up to the behest of the Board of Commissioners.
And ask what they want, so.
If it makes you feel better, though, you could ask. I mean,
Hey, they may,
yeah.
in a budget year, hey, work with us on this, or work with you on that, this might be the year to do it.
So we could absolutely table 25 if you want to ask the question. 26 is a collective bargaining agreement. You cannot do anything with that one. Number 27 and 28 are both collective bargaining agreements. And number 29 and 30 are also collective bargaining agreements. So let's go back to number 23. That is the elephant in the room. Commissioners, as Bill stated, and I have to concur with this, at one point, I think it was on the upwards of 240, 320, I think I saw at one point. As I've been doing my research, it was significantly high. The board has done a very good job, and I like to highlight the good jobs that we have done on reducing that amount significantly. The only thing that the Board of Commissioners could do is continue to reduce that number. But outside of that, that's where we're at. Now, here's the only other thing that I'll give to you as far as facts go is these are employees cashing out this time, okay? And what that means is, and you could look at it either way, time is money, money is time. So that means that that's less time that the employees are off and they're in their seats working because they're cashing out their time and not taking their time. Some look at that as good, some look at that as bad. It's a tomato conversation. When they cash out this time, so for example, if I were to cash out 80 hours of vacation and 40 sick, that's 80 more hours that I'm here working, and that's 40 hours of sick that I'm more here working. Does that make sense, commissioners? Otherwise, the other alternative is, guess what? We're just gonna take our time because you give it to us, we're gonna take it. We're not gonna beat it.
And like 911, they're on mandatory overtime for the last 3 years. They
Right.
can't take the time.
You got it.
So this is something that works for them because they can't use the time they have.
Well, when you look at everybody else, what they're getting, 100 and 180,
We're
we're
very
down
low.
to 80 and
Yeah, we're
40.
low.
You have to be somewhere, and I think that's fair.
Sure.
I mean, we're lucky it's that low, I think, by looking at it. I mean, I don't really have a problem with it. Has to be a number, and
Yeah.
the number's low, so.
Also, commissioners too, if it makes, not that it makes anybody feel better, because we're in budget talks, but if, again, departments, elected officials and office holders use the algorithm, the spreadsheet that I gave them, they would have anticipated, yes, I see, yeah. They would have anticipated, so the budgets that you're seeing for 2025 that we've been seeing up there include the potential for the cash out for these people. So it should be inclusive. And again, we're assuming that everybody's gonna cash out if they're available, if they have that time. You may find that some people don't take that opportunity. And we may get some more money back that way, but you may also find that they just take their time off and get paid out for it. I mean, paid out as they take time off. You're paying it either way, commissioners, if that makes sense.
Or Yoder, how much of a nightmare is it for payroll when they come to do this?
It's a nightmare.
It's always a nightmare.
Yeah, it is an absolute nightmare.
Payroll is a nightmare.
So it's earnable salary. So when we talk about OPERS, it's earnable salary. And all of this has to be, it's there's certain things that aren't earnable salary. Sometimes when we do lump sums, they're not earnable salary. Sometimes when, we can get creative with certain things through collective bargaining agreements. What we can't do that is for this. So it is very burdensome. The plans, as you can see, commissioners, I just presented 13 different plans. It's not easy to manage and track, but it is what it is. And luckily, Penny and my staff work very well together to kind of just get it done. But the payments do happen in January. So with that being said, you're approving 2025's plan, but it won't be paid out until January. So that's why we're restrictive on that December date, Bill. If I told the auditors department that we were gonna wait until December and then try to hurry up and pull this out when they're trying to do year end, and I mean, the payroll department would absolutely annihilate me.
And me,
Yeah,
Martha, you're in Trumbull County.
absolutely annihilate.
Because I let it
Yeah.
happen.
I only have one other question. How many non-bargaining unit people cashed out last year?
We could run the numbers.
I mean, I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
question.
We can run the numbers and get you an answer. I don't have it off the top of my head, but we can.
I mean, it could be a non-issue.
It would be nice to standardize somewhat though, for the benefit of payroll, for the benefit of budgeting. All the way across the board.
You're not gonna do that with the bargaining unit.
Right,
That's the
we've
problem.
tried.
You know,
Commissioner, we have tried extremely
No,
hard.
but if we set a line of where all the non-bargaining ones and stick to it, that gives you ammo. In the bargaining sessions there, that here's where
It didn't,
they've gone down or they've lowered.
it didn't at all. Trust me, I fought, John, I know, somebody has to back me up here. I fought that fight. We fought the fight and we fought it hard, but you had a choice. Were we gonna address the healthcare? Were we gonna address the wages? I mean, there's so many things that were historically in these collective bargaining agreements that I can't back ourselves out of. I mean, I was,
You're a Trumbull County auditor, and when you address the wages, this also sort of addresses
It does.
this, right?
it's an economic package.
That
Yes.
and hospitalization.
Yep.
Is just gonna keep going up and really go up in a lot faster pace than we used to.
Correct. So what a fact finder looks at when we go to arbitration is they're gonna weigh all of that. And I'm just telling you what happens. They look at all that and they say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Their wages are only going up this much, but you're increasing their health insurance this much, you're increasing XYZ this much, you're not giving them any additional perks and benefits in lieu of time off or whatever the case will be. So guess what? We're gonna roll with the union and say, the least you can do is let them cash out. And I had multiple fact finding reports that came back with just that, so. Even with fighting the fact with our fact finding exhibit, showing them that the Board of Commissioners has gone to 80-40. I mean, we fought hard. It just didn't work out in our favor.
So Commissioner, you feel that these numbers are in the non-bargaining are pretty
Well, when you
close?
look at what everybody else is, 100, 180.
Well, I
and they're 80 and
agree.
40, I mean,
I don't know how far, if you were to do something, how far do you go?
no, I don't
Yeah.
think you go. I
Right.
think you say, you know what, we're lucky they're that low. I mean, you have to give them something.
Commissioner,
That's
do you
reasonable.
agree?
Yeah, I'm happy that we went to the
Yeah.
40-80. I just wish more would head in that direction.
Thank you, Alex.
Mhm.
And again, too, don't get me wrong, we want employees to take the time that they need to. If they earned it, you need to get the hell away from work once in a while to freshen your head up and clear your mind and come back and be a happy worker. We don't want people just sitting there working and then just getting paid for their vacation time they earned. It's there for a reason. We want them to get away, and we should be able to function with vacation and comp time. But there are some departments like 911, like the corrections officers, that
Yeah.
just can't get away if they wanted to. And this is one thing where I can see this as a bonus, a benefit for them.
It is. Thank you, Commissioners.
We're gonna move on, 31, I don't know, Julie or Martha? Either or.
Julie's here.
Right.
Julie Green, Trumbull County Planning Commission. Item 31 is an amendment to an action taken on December the 4th related to the contract for carpet replacement in the Planning Commission after our flooding incident paid for through ARPA. This was brought to our attention by the Auditor's Office, Commissioner's Office. It's just amending the language to add or revise and correct the following items. The incorrect funds number was included in the original journal item. You should always have the language stating the source of funds are from American Rescue Plan funds on any journal action taken using ARPA funds. Item 3 is the addition of the language to award it being made to the lowest responsible bidder. That's another requirement for ARPA funded projects all across the board. And item number 4 is addition of the note. Just for clarification, I spoke with Christy about this. In the Munis system, this contractor has a DBA. And so we wanted to add that in the resolution because it's important for accounting purposes to note the complete name, the DBA name, the correct address in the contract, on the purchase order, all across the board. All of those items should match. So that's that explanation. Item 32 was just correcting the fund number for the other contract related to again, the same flooding incident to replace part of the ceiling in the planning commission office. It's paid for through our funds and administered through our office. Thank you.
And I think we looked at insurance at that, and they wouldn't cover any of that, right?
So the insurance did come out, Commissioner,
Oh.
and they did an assessment and they have a deductible, I believe. The title, I think the total was around $5,500 that they were willing to cover. And so I think it was a little under $500 that would have been available from the insurance company. And then once that was discovered, we were then instructed by the maintenance officials on the board at that time to put together an RFP to get quotes to replace both the carpet and the ceiling.
So Commissioners Alex DiVincenzi Bush, Corsa was engaged in this. Obviously, there was a insurance claim put in. To Julie's point, she is spot on the numbers. I think it was like $5,546. $5,000 that is our deductible. So they got a check for a whopping $546. There is a reason, and I do want to take a moment to educate the board on that reason. The reason is because the roof, okay? The building department head at the time put in a, of course, they're paying for it. Trying to state that, the roof was the problem. There was significant damage during a storm to the roof or whatever the case may be. The reality is that roof was 73 years old. So of course it was smart enough, obviously, when an adjuster or whatever the case may be came out, they're not going to cover a 73-year-old roof, okay? That is why insurance covers this, because
Like the
it
engineer's
was,
garage.
yes, thank you. It was normal wear and tear. It was, updates that we should have been making along the way. Additionally, and I hate to bring this up, but Corsa is right in one thing. We need to really do, one of the tasks for the new department head when they come is going to be quantifying how bad things really are, because Corsa is the one insuring this. And at the end of the day, if we're telling Corsa, oh yeah, this building's an A or this roof is great, but then expecting that when something happens, they come and find out, well, it was fake that F, I think we need to be a little bit more realistic. Because when you look at the $5,000 that we just expended in a deductible to get $546, was that even necessary? No, it wasn't, right? So HR is pushing back, just so the board is very clear. Cars, when we have minor car accidents. I look at that and I say, whoa. Our deductible for that is gonna be X amount. You might get back $200. We gotta stop. Like, those are things that we need to be a little bit more, and this is no fault of Julie's whatsoever. This is not Julie's fault, the planning commission. It's our building. Our building was not,
Yeah, but are you saying that we gave the insurance 5,000?
Yes.
See 500?
Yes, we did.
Why would we do that?
You have to ask your building department. It's on Julie's, it was, yeah.
Wow.
Now, I inserted myself, I'll use that term because I've been accused of that so many times in the past. Julie Green, Trumbull County Planning. I inserted myself and took over the roof replacement project so that we would stop getting the walk-ins on Monday morning with entire rooms covered with wet ceiling tiles covering our beautiful furniture that we inherited when they purchased the building. I don't know when. So that was something that I discovered, as Alex mentioned, after the fact. And I've mentioned to all of you, I'm not concerned about looking backward. I am a willing partner moving forward with the board and the new maintenance director to work on our building, which includes archives, to make sure that everything in it is brought up to at least bare minimum maintenance, because there are a number of issues, and I think I forwarded all of those to you, Commissioner Bernard and Commissioner Hernandez and Commissioner Miller. So that's what.
Well, I understand all that, but was the board made aware of that we're gonna spend 5,000 to get 500?
Well, we didn't spend it. It just, the bill was 5,500. Of course, I only paid 500 of it. We had to eat it in our deductible. So it wasn't like we paid that money to get the money back. It just,
But
it didn't cover.
Sure, but it
And now it
does.
may have affected our rates.
It
by
does.
doing a
affect-
claim.
It does affect, yes.
Right.
So those are things that we just need to, as the new department head comes in, those are things that need to go, again, I can't stress this enough. Anything Corsa related needs to go through county human resources. If you're going to put a claim in, you need to talk to us because that's why this is so important. Every little bit matters. You cannot just go rogue. We can't work in silos. This is where I'm trying to say, I found out when luckily Julie made me aware. When Andrew, or was it, or somebody called me, maybe Zach. And he goes, when are we gonna get our insurance money? I go, I have no clue what you're talking about. Come to find out, you know, the department head had Corsa come out, work with the adjuster one-on-one. I was never made aware. So we have to get better collectively together. That's all I'm asking.
And Martha, you're Trumbull County Auditor.
Yes, yeah.
Just to clarify.
Well,
that
we're gonna have
wasn't
a new
Julie.
one that says.
No, I said it was the building
Yeah,
department.
the one
A
thing.
lot of that's gonna change. The new means
Right.
the same thing.
While we're on the same thing, how do we get better at all these amendments on every thing? The
Um,
last 5 weeks, 6 weeks, amend this fund number, amend this here, amend this. What's the check and balance with this we can
Trumbull
do?
County Planning
Stop that.
Commission, I can explain our two amendments. Well, first.
And I'm not saying you are, it's on every
No,
agenda,
that's a valid question.
every week.
For ARPA, it's a one and done deal. It's a brand new system that we all had to learn on the fly. I had an old boss who I admire greatly who said, if you're not making mistakes, you're not working.
Right.
So that's number one. Number two, for these two items, I already went over both of these with my staff. If you recall, last year I was out of it for at least the last quarter.
Right.
Due to multiple illnesses I won't get into right now. So that's where the December items were, a mistake because I was not the final reviewer and I take responsibility for both of these. But that's, I know it's not a great answer, but we do have internal controls in our office to address these sorts of errors from coming to the journal. But I can tell you, you know, when you're submitting a 20% of journal items over the course of 25 years, you're gonna make mistakes. So, but in any case, I hope that explains it. Thank you.
Mark Theater, Trumbull County Auditor, I want to also note, especially with the ARPA stuff, close to the end, we were working very hard to get things submitted. And so having some mistakes on those and not having, I completely understand that. We had to get these things done by a deadline, and when you work on a deadline, that's when you're rushed, that's when you make mistakes. So I think it's important for the board to understand that. I know that anything that I submit, I go over several times. And I hope that other department heads and other public officials do the same thing. But when you don't have that time for those extra reviews, that's what makes it hard. Every single MOU that we did, I should say Julie did, took a lot of time and was very time consuming. Every single ARPA thing that came through from Attorney Rogers, I had to review it, every single one. I came up with a checklist at a certain point. And so it's, you know, when you're doing a certain amount of volume, particularly in a tight time frame, it gets very hard.
Listen, I'm not trying to blame anyone, I'm just saying collectively, we all
Sure.
need to figure a way to just eliminate some of these, because that's busy work for Lisa to put them on there and then redo them again the next week and just takes time.
Yeah, Julie Green, I just have one more comment. So the planning commission was in no way responsible for any of the ARPA funding, none. We, as we always do, took it upon ourselves to initiate and be part of the process to benefit the entire county, alongside Martha, alongside the commissioner's office, alongside our ARPA attorney. And so, you know, we discovered in summer of 2024 that, hey, we have to have this obligated and passing a resolution doesn't count. And so just to reiterate what I stated, we had to figure out on the fly, create these MOUs. And I think we accomplished that very well, given our short time frame and the amount of coordination that was necessary in order to.
And your illness.
And my illnesses, multiple illnesses. And I still had conversion pay to cash in. Okay. But in any case, I just want to, I know I haven't worked with all of you very long, but I can assure you that everything that comes from our office is for the greater good of Trumbull County. We have a dedicated staff there. I don't know if Mr. Music wants to chime in. He was our former chairperson, if he wants to state what his experience there was. But I think the planning commission historically, we've been around this a long time, has always, worked very hard to put the county first, to make sure that we can fill any gaps that are needed with our staff, which has a diverse set of skills. And I just feel like I need to say that, because if you're not long on history, you're not aware of everything that we have and will accomplish if we're supported.
Oh, never doubted that in my 2 years here at all.
My experience with the planning commission has been nothing but rich music, just a citizen nowadays. But when I was the chairman and the vice chairman of the planning commission, all the tasks were done professionally. There wasn't one time that I could sincerely think back that the decisions were made for the benefit of the taxpayers of Trumbull County and for the efficient administration of what rules and regulations that Trumbull County has. They did their due diligence. They always did their research, and I can't talk more highly about the staff in the past. So they've done a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And board, just so it's clear, because I did hear a comment, the department heads outside of building department don't have a hand in the process of submitting claims. So this was not, I want to make sure it's clear. I heard your comment over there. This was not Julie Green. This was not the planning commission. Where the lack in the process is, and I did say this when I spoke, is our building department head. We need to get better communication in coordination with human resources, and we're gonna get that better, and we're gonna get there. So we can do this, but we all do have to work together.
Commissioner Bernard and I, we weren't here during the ARPA, but I was here during a lot of the meetings, and that was a very tedious task to get that to Tanya, get that to the attorney, and then there was even times where the commissioners would approve something, but then the attorney didn't, and then there was a lot of confusion. So I could see, well, you were part of.
Well, I believe we did things probably at least 30% more accurate or credible than any county around us. The counties around us, I think, threw things at the wall, did resolutions. They didn't have the check and balance system that we have. They didn't, Martha getting involved was tremendously helpful, and all the other department heads that took the task of helping us with ARPA. I think if in audit wise, we would pass with flying colors on every single ARPA item we did, where there are some counties, I think, didn't do any of the due diligence that we did. So we added all that extra work on ourselves by doing that. But should push come to shove with a background check and audit or whatever, we're going to have zero problems because of what we did. So I agree with you in that sense.
Well, no, and I'm not discrediting, I'm actually crediting the fact that I was able to be here during a lot of those conversations, non-commissioner, and seeing how that all worked out and what was, so I could see where there would be a lot of, change orders or what have you, but moving forward, I don't think we're going to experience as much because the ARPA monies are gone, so there's no change orders coming,
County auditor, and I will say there's it's not just on ARPA. Commissioner Maloney does have a point. We often have to go back and amend things. Some of those are due to various department heads and various public officials submitting things. A lot of times it's fund numbers.
Yeah.
They're not reaching out and asking for verification.
That's what I'm trying to get to is where's the break in the process.
Sometimes it's a typo, right? Which happens. But a lot of times we'll see, or we'll see an agenda item that doesn't have a fund number on it. It'll get, they'll submit it and we won't, I don't always catch those until later. And, Lisa she's got her own worries and there's no fund number at all. And so we have to go back and put a fund number in. And we don't always, it doesn't always get caught until somebody's trying to do a purchase order. And hey, there's no fund number here. Some of it kind of has to be everybody sort of looking eyes on these agendas when we get the drafts and going, hey, there's no fund number here. Christy, I will say, catches a lot of that and lets people know, and reaches out, hey, there, when she has time to review. We have not always had that time either. So, but if department heads, public officials, when they submit something, if money's being spent, it's gotta have a fund number, it's gotta be the right.
Yep, and they should reach out to your department first, because a lot of them don't deal with this every day, like some do. And it's not on Lisa to have to do research to figure out, is this phone number correct or not?
No,
That's
but
on whoever submits it.
Right, and you will, if you notice something, but we appreciate that. Martha, you're from County Auditor, we do appreciate that. But it's just people have to hey, what's a good phone number for this? And reach out to Christy. Christy she knows that, and she some of those she has memorized like the whole thing.
Okay.
And then this was not done this way when I first got here. I can guarantee that. I remember about 6 months in, things started changing with fund numbers and things like it's like, why are we doing all this now? And it's just because we're doing it
The right
more correctly. Yeah.
And Christy is also just very good at helping people. She'll do a good job. So some of that, getting it right, I'm gonna just give some credit to Christy on that. She works very hard at making sure things are right.
I don't mean to rush, but we do have
Sure,
a meeting in a little bit, so we're gonna need to move forward here. Gary, I think 33 and 4 maybe.
Yeah, Commissioners, Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer, 33. This is the public hearing we had on January 23rd. We had no objections to the public hearing. No written opposition has arrived regarding this project. So this is a 100% approval rate for our Smith Stewart Road and Sewer project. Number 2, this is up on Scoville Drive. The contractor Pollard, they have requested more time to complete the project. It's not costing us any more money. He's had weather delays out there, supply chain issues, and he has requested to get a final completion date out of May 6th. I don't have any problem with it, especially since it's not costing us any money. There's no real big urgency up here to get the sewer in. So I recommend we go with that. Furthermore, there is another public hearing coming up on March 12th with our last week's agenda. This is just the information regarding that. If you want to review anything before the public hearing on your own, you'll have your folders there at the public hearing with more information than that. But that's just there in case you want to familiarize yourself with the project.
Thank you, Gary.
Oh, wait, 35, Bob just pointed out to me, Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer. Yeah, our phase 1 for the slab, we already awarded the contract for this back on, all the way back on November 14th. Well, it's time to issue the notice to proceed on that.
Okay,
And we did 17 houses in Champion, Diana, Brookfield, West Farmington.
no. Good. All right, so we'll move to Diane was here. She is here. Hi,
Hiding behind Danny.
you're hiding.
Diane Jakovic, Senior Levy Administration. Number 36 and 37 are just housekeeping annual items that we do. 36 is relative to the local match dollars that we support to Direction Flow of Eastern Ohio in order for them to get the Title III funding, federal funding program. That program really assists senior levy because it's other funding that comes into the area for seniors that qualify for Title III. If they don't qualify for Title III or the passport program that Direction Flow also administers, then it falls back on senior levy. So without those total $3, it would come back to senior levy and we would be spending a lot more money that we don't have. Item 37 is in order to use a database system that we use, so we can track the various users of the system and make sure that they're not double dipping by getting services from other funding sources as well as senior levy. So again, a way to audit our dollars being spent just for our Trumbull County senior citizens. Number 38 is my amendment to a journal action, and the reason behind this is because when this agenda item was needed, the replacement levy hadn't been passed yet, so I can't encumber funds that are not known at the time. So I had to just do a 1-year commitment for our transportation, 750,000. This amendment is in order to now have the 3-year commitment for our senior levy dollars for the transportation system. In the disabled population, we've already committed to the 3 years. The Board of DD already committed for the 3 years. This is just to change the date from the original journal action to match that 3-year program. We now have the funding available to do that from the senior levy. Any questions?
How's the move?
The move or the moon?
The move. No, the moon was full.
That's why it's so
Who said
crazy
that?
out there.
I think that was yesterday.
My office has been cleaned, or that office has been cleaned. It's great. I have an office full of junk. We haven't moved yet. They haven't been given the
Oh,
order
okay.
to physically.
So
I'm operating out of boxes right now. I'm waiting for that. I figured with your budget meetings and a building maintenance department that is, working on new
Yeah.
people, and just waiting for the word for the maintenance department. I appreciate the clean office, looking forward to it, looking forward to working with Mike directly under one roof.
For the movie, is it clean
But
enough?
what I have over there right now is going to be like what the tag unit had. Another comment I want to make on that, my office space hasn't had air conditioning since the new roof was installed in the Board of Elections. I believe I put a tag order or a bid on that so that it was out there.
Not yet.
Last year I was given a fan to keep my office cool. Why I'm saying this is now that conference space is filled with all of the old files from Office of Elderly Affairs, including steam tables, including food bags, no heat all summer in that room, you're going to have a hazmat problem in a few years if that continues. With the help of Mary Beth, we are going to go through all that and start working on the just proper disposal of records because they have records from 2015 in boxes. I mean, it really was not managed well with paperwork because they were just trying to keep up with the day-to-day operations. So I'm looking forward to working with Mary Beth too. Before I retire, that room will be clean.
The cleaning of the room you're in now, is it clean enough before they move you in?
It's clean enough, but there's gonna be new blinds that are needed because those blinds are brand new black, windows still. The walls are done, the carpet's done, it smells decent. That's easy.
Yeah, that's easy. The blinds are easy.
That's easy, yeah, I'm not worried about that. Just waiting for the directive to physically move.
thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Gary? This is you again.
This is
This is under your paper.
Michelle's report.
Oh, this is Gary. I have Gary right now.
I got nothing to do with this one.
This is Michelle.
It's my office space. It's not like-
Phillips Mechanic Architects. Usually Bill Hart would handle this through, but he's no longer with you. So they asked if I could come and speak. So I am here to discuss discuss the $22,325 change order for the ERV relocation. An ERV is an energy recovery ventilator. So basically, as the warm air comes back in the wintertime, it doesn't exchange process with the new air coming in. It doesn't exchange the air, it exchanges the heat. The unit is already part of the project with DeSalvo Construction. When we were doing our due diligence and studying the building to begin the project, the room that the ERV was initially scheduled to go into, we were just told that it was a storage room and that it would be fine to put it in there. But the room was always locked and it was a vault door. Nobody had the key. Anyway, finally get to the point of construction, we get in there. The ceiling and the type of material stored in there are not it's not gonna be a good idea to put this ERV and the ceiling in there. It's got a drywall hard cap ceiling to create a fireproof room. There's records that are stored in there are things that are like long-term county paper records. If there should ever be a leak in the ERV, with the condensate lines, we could lose records. So they said, hey, what if we move it just around the corner to this break room, which has a lay-in type ceiling? Great, we can take out the lay-in ceiling, so that's where the cost comes in. We take out lay-in ceiling, we put in a new lay-in ceiling once we put the ERV up above the ceiling, so that's part of the additional cost. Now, this break room is on the front facade of the building, so how the ductwork and the vents that go on the outside of the building, we now have to be a little bit more sensitive about where they go related to some existing light fixtures and all that. We need some ductwork coming down the wall. Being in a finished space, we have to build a little bit of a wall, we have to add a little bit of extra ductwork for this. For essentially it comes around for the relocation into this break room. So the cost for that is $22,325 for this extra room ceiling, add ceiling back, add extra ductwork, and add a finished wall around the ductwork as it comes down to get properly out of the building. So that's what I have to say about that. Are there any questions?
I apologize for not realizing, you were here. I don't know, Commissioner, this is for the county engineer.
Yes, in the county engineer's
Okay.
offices. So this is it's a two-story building. It's on the second floor of the building. And this is part of, they're getting an entirely new HVAC systems throughout the building. And this was a piece of it that was
No,
scheduled to.
Martha, I'm sorry.
I mean, we
Martha,
have
Trumbull
nothing,
County-
I don't know what it
Martha, your Trumbull County auditor, the notes that we were discussing earlier.
Oh, this is part of the
that.
note?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I understand that.
Okay.
Not a good concern. Okay. I
So,
don't have any,
Martha, your Trumbull County auditor, just so you understand, this is actually over what we borrowed so far, and I don't know how that happened, but it's part of that, it's one note in the. So you are already over budget on the project,
Our first change order was a deduct of $20,000.
right?
And this is only the second change.
Right, and this is the amount that was borrowed, and this is based on what we were told by the former. So I need to,
Yeah,
So we'll
Commissioners.
borrow more money?
yeah,
well, I'm not sure on this one because the notes, that we issued on that were all together on for several projects. So it's one, I did not realize that this is. Right, that's what we were given, so, right.
plus the
And again, I would need to talk to Christie to make sure that it's, yeah.
So do we need to hold on this?
I would say, let me see what we can get, an answer by tomorrow for you.
If
Okay,
not, we'll take it off.
that's fine, yeah, we'll deal with it.
Maybe.
I apologize for that.
And if I might have one more moment, that Gary's here, the new head of, he is.
Yeah.
I know less who he is than you probably do. He's my new contact for the building. He has requested new window blinds. You will see in the future one request for removing window blinds. Installing new ones. That is totally not mission critical. This ERV is mission critical to the project. So we have to have it in the building. And so it's a matter of where it goes in the building. So that's what I.
what's the timeline?
Commissioners, that's part of the concern, right? When we're looking at processes, not anything you did, Michelle? Michelle, nice to meet you.
Yes.
Not you whatsoever. Internal county policies, and we need to. Okay, so the architects are working directly with the department heads or engineer. However, there's a lack there because the owner of the building and the one footing the bill is the board of commissioners. So there needs to be some type of escalation of where if anybody's changing a scope of anything, not necessarily the architect, but the department head, or I want this, or I want that. It's wonderful to have wants and needs, but when you guys are the ones footing the bill, those need to be escalated to you before any decisions are made.
Right.
And that will help us hopefully avoid change orders. That will help.
1000%.
Yeah, I mean,
They need to
we gotta
come to
get better.
us. I mean, they went to the architect saying they're needing this. They
Right.
need to come to us. Let's see if it's really needed.
Yeah, I get a question here on this one here. And let's, we go, so you're there, Gary, you're in the
Yeah, I'm
building.
gonna, you know, you go ahead, but yeah, I want to have a
Um,
couple things.
did that building, that the room that they're in, can those records and stuff just be moved out of there and use that same room?
Gary Schaefer, engineer's office, there was no interaction between ourselves and the architect until late in the, the stage. I mean, they were under construction before we really got an idea what the entire scope was. That's when I found out they were putting that ERV one unit in our vault, which has historical records date back to the 1700s, old road records, commissioners' records.
So it is a vault. that room
It's
is
a
built
vault,
for-
yeah, that stuff has to be protected. There's no HVAC currently in that thing. It's tornado proof, fireproof, everything. So to introduce anything into that, could potentially damage the records. So it did have to be moved.
Well, why was it never brought up before when initial last year?
All the design, all the architect interaction was between the building department.
Yeah, Bill Hart was.
We were not involved.
Communications.
No
They
problem.
said they couldn't get in the room, they didn't know what was in the
No, the
room,
room's
the room was locked.
It's always unlocked, but it's always closed. It's heavy,
Yeah.
but it can be open and closed.
Yeah, yeah, it's like a bank vault.
Right.
So we just, thank you, Gary, Alex, Stephen, Joseph Bush. One thing that we're gonna task our, obviously, change of personnel, we're gonna task them. Those things should be walked and looked at before. I'm not saying that's the engineer's fault. I'm just saying those things should be looked at before we get to this point.
Better communication.
Yeah, and I was talking about the blinds. I just wanna make sure, we can't just go change scopes of projects, even if it may sound really silly, but blinds are really small, but when you're using bond, like what Auditor Yoder's saying, these things are committed to already, and any change incurs more debt, incurs more so on and so
Is that
forth.
blinds for all the windows?
Yes.
I mean, there's a
So
ton of,
the next.
there's a lot of windows
I
here.
like my
They're
blinds.
26, they're 26 windows.
Okay, so
How are the blinds not here?
The vertical clunky,
I
some
know
don't
they,
work.
are they in decent shape?
They're older, some don't work. Some,
Were they the
I mean,
same
like the ones in the
blinds?
conference room are very difficult to open and close.
I don't want to
So-
get too
Martha
much on
Yoder,
this.
I will get back to you as quick as I can. I'll deal with that with Christy when I get back downstairs, and we'll get it back to you guys, whether the answer on the note part of this.
Okay.
Mine is the next one.
I know it is. Ms. Schwartz, thank you. Martha, yeah.
So
this is
this one is just, it's an amendment to the original resolution, ARPA resolution. What happened during this? We did a small grant, or the commissioners did a small grant to Warning with the Radio Association, a little bit less than $6 grand. The
Very-
standard agreements that we did as part of, or that Attorney Rogers did as part of ARPA, had a $2 million requirement of insurance. It's a small nonprofit. They don't need $1 million in insurance. So worked with Attorney Rogers. She agreed we didn't need to have that $2 million insurance part of this. And so we're just amending it so that we can move forward with the grant and put it down the line.
Okay. 41, this is for the dog pound, architectural work, the Baker, Bednar, Snyder and Associates. And they need to amend this by another $49,950, revising the total design contract to $241,950. And,
Has this work already been done?
yeah. It was, it was brought to me. Bill brought it to me on his way out and,
Yeah, but it was done before you got here.
oh yeah. Yeah, this was,
So this change order happened without being approved?
Well, I don't know who approved it. We weren't here. I don't know.
Well, that's my question.
Yeah, I don't remember this coming by us. The same thing happened with the coroner's office
The
on,
board didn't, let's
on
leave it at, the
Chestnut
board did
Street.
not approve.
So
same
Bill
company
approved
went
it.
up another
So
voting right.
Go ahead, Martha.
Just also, this is another one of those things where there is no fund number in it. So there's no place where the money is supposed to come from. I do not off the top of my head know if there is enough money left in that donation account.
There is,
from
they
the
were given
initiative.
those fund numbers. I don't know why
Okay.
those didn't make it on.
I don't see it, I don't see it on here.
Alex Stephen Johnson Bush Human Resources Department in the fund number, and this was given. There is $17,598.25 left over in the donation balance. So the total that the Board of Commissioners would be paying outside of that is $32,351.75. And Christy Sester did give Bill Hart I luckily was able to retrieve the emails, thank God.
Okay,
She did give Bill Hart the fund number, and that was given, so I'm not sure how, but we'll get that added. It'll come out of Fund 412-080, 1000, 1001, 505, 603. It's a,
I mean,
Yeah, but here's my question. We spent,
architect expense.
we're in the process of spending $250,000 for an architect design. And we don't know where we're gonna get the money to build a building. And to me, that just doesn't make sense. I mean, and then we're in the process of maybe going a different route altogether.
right.
I agree, and we're the same boat with the corner.
I mean,
We're
it's
200 and
just-
some thousand dollars in the
that's
corner,
part
same
of
thing.
the waste of money that we got to stop.
Well, it is gonna stop. Now, the same thing happened with the Chestnut Building,
That's it, yeah.
because there's an architectural fee there. And these are things that we're gonna have to stop and really put our heads together before these kind of monies are spent. Because we don't know really at this point in time where we're going. It's a beautiful building. But are we building it? I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Yes, Sarah, Sharon, you
I'm
just
so
came.
sorry, Sharon Taylor. I don't know where Bill went with, I don't know if it was completed. We still owe Baker Bednar because of the change orders, which we did have a flat rate, but they had some issues for additional services. We had, somebody said we couldn't tie into the sewer line at the dog kennel.
That's what.
That's what this is.
That's what this
Yes.
is.
Oh, okay, so because I caught the tail end of it, so my end result with Baker Bednar is $13,700.
That's what we owe.
We still owe $13,700.
and that's part of that 49,000?
That's where we paid them up
Who
to date.
approved that change order?
That I don't know. I wasn't involved in it.
I don't know where that came from.
I hate to say it, but this had to be all maintenance department head, just like with the Chestnut Building.
That should have.
When I went over there to see the building, they said, oh, we have this change and it's up to this. And we're getting emails now about the additional money we owe on that. And it's like, whoa, what?
I don't even think that's,
I wanna look.
I don't, Bill, what do we do?
They have it broken down. I can give you.
Yeah, I wanna see.
I hate to put you on the
Just,
Because I
spot,
have.
and we are running short on time, but I mean,
I can only pay
You
you
got
what
10
our
minutes.
purchase states. I said I can't give
So the
you.
original purchase order had.
Was $192,000.
Right, and so above and beyond the 192, you're saying that we owe,
Yes.
because I think perhaps maybe some of the information maybe that was given to Christie was not accurate for the.
Yeah, and
I wanna
again,
look it over.
No, I
Because if-
made a copy.
If
They
we
bring
can,
that as
if we
well.
think, because if that's what we owe, sorry, if that's what the commissioners owe, then we need to look and see what's in that
I agree.
account for sure.
Yes.
And get this straightened out, because if that's accurate and the 192, that it can be, we have room in that account,
I agree.
but
Who authorized for the building to be increased?
Commissioners, my questions are on the following, and I'm gonna be quite honest with you after looking into this. Who authorized the increase in size of the building and complexity? Who authorized the increase in number of kennels? Those are the two things that seem to have driven the scope of the work up significantly.
it would be revising.
Bill Danso, prosecutor's office. I think to answer the commissioner's question on my end, this is not the way we recommend this being done. Those should come to be approved by the board. I'm not sure how it happened either. It's happened twice. To be honest with you, the commissioners have a couple choices. Probably they could, the commissioners could perhaps, try to take the position that
Ladies.
Yeah.
Ladies.
one option would be that the commissioners could take the position that these weren't approved by the board and they shouldn't be expensed to the commissioners. On the other hand, the architectural firms are gonna say, but we did the work. It kind of leaves you in a spot. Perhaps the best thing to do at this point would be, consider that what point you want to take. Or, do you want to challenge these that have happened in the past, or do you want to just make sure the system is corrected going forward? And I'd be glad to discuss more in detail, maybe outside of the meeting, and we could go from there. But I agree with the general premise. This should have come to the board for any change in scope. Change orders are normal, just so, we all know that change orders can happen generally because of unexpected things that come up, but those should come to the
And
board.
they should be approved.
They should be.
Absolutely.
Right. So anytime we write a contract, we should note in there, any change orders must be approved
Right.
by the podium.
And not to exceed certain amounts.
And this just adds on, now we got $250,000 for a drawing to sit. Right.
Yes,
Right
Mark.
here, Trumbull County Auditor, legal issues aside and how you want to actually handle this. We think there's some discrepancies on the amounts. I'm gonna work with Shara and Christie and try to get this straightened out to find out the actual amount so that we verify that.
Am I taking this off?
We take
The
this up.
agenda?
Commissioners, I'm just gonna make you aware, again, luckily I was able to track down this paperwork, otherwise I don't even know if this would have ever been brought to anybody's attention. But with that being said, this dates back to as far as November. So this Baker Bednar has been waiting for payment. I have emails there from between him and Mr. Hart back to November. So you can absolutely table it. All I'm asking the Board of Commissioners is before we get ourselves into a legal issue where we're not paying bills that we need to have been paid for work that was done, maybe incorrectly, I don't know. But I just wanted to make sure they're looking to get paid.
Well, we have to find
And
out
we have
where
to
to
figure
pay it
out,
from
yeah,
and what
I
the bill
agree.
is, right? I mean.
So
Okay, if you
We
could
will-
find. Go ahead, Sharon.
Sheriff Taylor, I did, Alex, I did talk to them. I talked to Amy there and I even David Snyder. So they know they're paid up this week up to the purchase order amount. I told them I had to come to the board for the rest of it. So that's, they are aware, we're working on it. So that part is okay.
And are you saying the rest is 13,000 or 49,000?
It's 13,000, that 49,000 included a amount that was, it was allocated in the original purchase order. That was on
I mean,
top.
the change order.
Yes, their additional services were actually 10,750. We had a reimbursable expense by Jam Environmental because it's a wetland there of 2,150. And then we had a reimbursable expense of advanced land measurement, a replat for the property, which was $800.
So, Martha, Trumbull County Auditor, we're gonna work together. We're gonna make sure, verify and
Yeah.
make sure that our amounts are correct, and we'll get back to you. All
All
right?
right,
But the bottom line is we'll still have $250,000.
Sure.
right. 42, to approve the appointment of Mark Bodo, member of Trumbull County Children's Services Board for 3 years. 43, appoint Dr. Vaughn Odom, member of the Trumbull County Children's Services Board for a 4-year period. 44, to designate Amy Shannon to serve as representative for myself, Rick Hernandez, president of the board for the Family and Children's First Council. That's to attend meetings when I am not available to do so. 45, we're going to go into executive session under 121.22(b)(4). 46, we will reconvene from executive session with the same ORC. And I think we did pretty good because it's 12:26. Any questions before
Commissioners, I won't take more than 1 second.
Yes.
To answer your question, thank you to Penny, Alex, Stephen, Jency Bush, Human Resources Department. Last year in conversion, out of the Commissioners' General Fund account, we expended $188,992.10. Out of the court's dedicated funds, we spent $190,508.57. So to answer your question on how much was expended in 2024, it would be roughly $300,000, yes. Thank you, Penny, for running these numbers while I was sitting here.
Thank you. Okay, Martha, did you say you had, or Lisa? I'm sorry.
Is there another executive session? Or?
Wait a second.
Everyone?
That, yes,
Yeah, maybe.
we, I had a conversation very quickly, commissioners, concerning the opioid settlement between Trumbull County and Lake. And, the attorney requested a meeting in executive session to discuss moving forward with, this. So, yeah, let's add that,
Okay,
because he's expecting a call around 11:30.
okay.
Do you have the ORC number of that, Lisa? Okay. That's it. Do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.